way I got into the business is I had an installation company, did blown blanket installation, didn't know much about foam at all. Had an old pastor friend out at the east end of the road where we lived, and house burned down. He had $17,000 to put his house back together, and I told him, when you get ready to do the installation, call me, I'll come do it for free. And I got done at the end of that installation job. He said, hey, come on up here, I got something to show you. I looked at this old 1972 panel van, black, red, and white striped. I could have sold snow cones out of the deal. It had this old foam machine in it. He said, hey, why don't you take this? It'll fit right into your business. That's how I got into spray foam, 70 feet of leaky hose off an old FF 1200. But what I found, more than the insulation, blown insulations, all the other stuff we've been doing, is, man, I just love the mechanics of the foam machine. I thought it was so cool. And I thought the coolest thing would be to build a machine with just no bunch of frills, something that's just solid, robust, that I built myself. We worked in that company up in Alaska for about 7 years. Ended up selling that company, moved down to Montana, started another company in Billings, and which is still in operation today. Ran that one for 3 years, ended up selling that company. Moved down to Louisiana, where we are now. We did that for several years down here, spraying tons of chicken houses and stuff, and decided, you know what, let's build some trailer rigs. I happened to have a guy come down from Cheyenne, Wyoming. I remember the guy. And I said, I can get you everything, but I can't get you the equipment. We walked past a couple pumps I had made. That's all I had done on this Boss machine. And he said, well, what's that? And I said, well, that's a couple of pumps. Well, do they work? I said, I don't know. I haven't built the air motor that runs them yet. I told him, I said, I've got that whole machine, that whole Boss machine is something right here. And he said, I'll tell you what, if you can put what's here into that trailer rig and it work, I'll give you the money for the whole thing if you can have that in 90 days. And I said, absolutely. Shook on it. I got to work with a skill saw and welder and all the stuff, parts and pieces from my father-in-law's garage, and put together this foam machine. Once we built that, we moved on to 5 machines. When we had a little money, we moved on to 10 machines. And pretty soon, before too long, we're ordering enough parts to build 100 machines at a time, stocking up stuff. And I had my brother-in-laws over here working. I had everybody I could find assembling machines. So what we found is that the simple systems didn't break down. I mean, there wasn't much to go wrong. I understand when you got parts breaking down and blowing hoses and all that kind of stuff, and the frustration of every time you go to a job, you're working on your machine half the time. And that's what I wanted to cure. We get calls, I've had this machine for 9 years. Man, incredible. This thing just sprays. I've run through 4 or 5 air compressors, that many generators, and the machine just keeps plugging away. I was that guy for a long time on the end of that gun. And I'm absolutely humbled to get to build the equipment for a guy that I know, because I was that guy. Little kids growing up, my family. That's what I did for a living. But if I can build equipment that has so little downtime and just sprays, you turn 3 switches on, heat it up, pressure it up, and go spray. You don't have to even think about it. That's what I want to do for my customer. It's about making you successful. And making you successful in life is a lot more than just spraying foam. It's a lot about the heart of why we as men and women out there doing what we do. We live in an amazing country that we're given the opportunity to have our own businesses and to fight this fight. When someone writes me a check for a down payment on a machine, knowing good and well how hard they worked for that money, man, that just does something inside of me. The fact that someone would put that kind of faith in something that we created over the last 9.5, 10 years and say, I believe in you. Well, I'm gonna deliver on that. I'm gonna give you everything that I can possibly give you to make you successful.